What would happen if we took Max Payne, beat him over the head with a baseball bat, and turned him into a snarky douchebag?
Well, duh, nothing would happen because he's not real, idiot.
Shut up, okay? You're not real, you're just a voice in my head. Wait, what am I supposed to be doing here again? Oh yeah, I'm playing Dead 2 Rights, a third-person shooter developed and published by Namco back in 2002. Just a glance and it's fairly obvious that this is a shameless clone of Max Payne, with a much more insane plot and a far less likable protagonist. But he has a cute killer dog, so all is forgiven. As the back of the box says, you are one good cop in a very bad situation. I would argue that both the cop and the situation are very bad, but the game itself is not. Yeah, it has its flaws for sure, but overall it's a fun arcadey experience that tries to put its own spin on the guys shooting dudes while doing acrobatic stunts and manipulating the flow of time formula. So let's arm ourselves with our trusty dual Berettas and feed our dogs some bones of a human variety as we dive into the greedy and ridiculous world of Dead 2 Rights.
Grant City. Hardest place on Earth. People aren't born here. They're forged out of broken bones and blood money. Fortunes are lost and found on a daily basis. And if you're not one of the lucky finders, you're probably dead.
Grant City, a place worse than Gotham. Here, everyone is a criminal, except for police officer Jack Slade, the main character, his dog Shadow, and his father Frank. It all starts with a simple distress call, shots fired at a construction site. Our hero investigates, killing every foreman and worker in the process. Mindlessly murdering the working class? I can get behind that. I've always wanted to be a cigar-chomping late-stage capitalist. At the end of his murder spree, Jack finds his father dead. Trying to find his dad's killer, he gets framed for murder by some assassin, but manages to escape from prison. He then extorts a wannabe triad named Fat Chow for guns and information, and meets a woman named Eve Adams, who identifies the man who framed Jack. His name is Pats, and he is an assassin guild boss and a self-proclaimed designer artist. Jack decides to visit his father's grave to pay his respects, even though he's a fugitive, but gets attacked by clowns and has to flee the scene. Yeah, you heard me right, clowns in a graveyard. After that, he saves Gloria Exner, a politician running for mayor who had Frank as her private eye, killing Pats but losing Eve in the process. Unfortunately, Jack and his girlfriend Hildy get captured by Fahouk Abdul, a Middle Eastern crime lord. Jack, of course, escapes and learns the terrible truth of it all. Mayor Pinnacle is running a gold smuggling operation along with Fahouk and the chief of police, Dick Hennessy. Frank Slade wanted to expose their scheme, so Hennessy killed him. Are you fucking following me so far? Because I'm already lost, and I have Wikipedia by my side. Bold video essay dude, have mercy on my soul. Anyway, Jack teams up with Pinnacle to take down Hennessy, acquiring a bunch of incriminating files. But Jack brings those files to Exner, who then betrays him but gets killed by Hildy, who then betrays Jack as well by taking the files to Pinnacle and Fahouk. Since this story clearly doesn't have enough double crossings, Pinnacle kills Hildy, but Jack manages to avenge her by exploiting the mayor's greatest weakness, getting choked to death. That's what smoking does to you kids. With Pinnacle dead, Jack uses the power of explosions to board Fahouk's plane, grabbing the files and killing the oily prince. Now, with the incriminating files safely at the hands of the media, only one bad guy remains, Hennessy. A legendary fist fight takes place at a hotel that doubles as a fiery pit, with Jack emerging victorious. It is done. Everyone is dead, Frank and Hildy have been avenged, and Jack retires from his life as a police officer with an impressive zero arrest record. Holy shit, what a story mark. It's like they took every crime movie plot ever and crammed them into an incomprehensibly convoluted mess. I usually complain that video game stories are too simplistic or by the numbers, but this is the complete opposite. It's a constant cycle of murder and betrayal. I could barely keep up with all the characters that would show up only to die a chapter later. It doesn't help that the plot is ridiculous, even though it takes itself super seriously. And Jack, oh boy, what a piece of work! He's a dismissive asshole that tries way too hard to be a witty badass, but comes off as a pretentious dork.
Dumb son of a bitch.
His noir narrations are full of nonsensical metaphors, and his one-liners are painfully cringy, or hilarious, whichever you prefer.
It was another gray autumn. The leaves were changing from go green to caution yellow. Pretty soon they'd be danger red, then dead brown.
It's weird, I liked the atmosphere and the grittiness of the story, being on the run and trying to piece together whatever leads I could find. But all the goofy shit threw me off, and I couldn't take the game seriously. It feels like the game didn't know which direction to take, between being a buddy cop comedy and a serious film noir, so it has a little bit of both with mixed results. It's fine though, by the time the 30th double crossing happens, you'll already be too zoned out to remember anything. Dead to Rights left me torn regarding its presentation. On the one hand, I really enjoyed the game's dark and foreboding atmosphere. It did a great job portraying a broken city full of corruption and a crime rate of about 98%. It never reached the cinematic perfection of Max Payne, but still it managed to provide an appropriate film noir-styled adventure. On the other hand though, the game's graphics have a tiny issue. They are fucking horrible. I mean, just look at this shit. The textures are muddy, the colors are washed out, and don't get me started on the models. They look basic as hell. They have no lip-syncing movements, their hands are just fists with no articulation, and their eyes don't even blink. What is this, PS1? This game came out in 2002. Wanna know what was already out there before that? Fucking Metal Gear Solid 2! Are you kidding me? We're not talking about some small indie studio, this is Namco. They made that game where a bear punches a demon, for God's sake. This is inexcusable and a damn shame, because despite the terrible graphics, I love the game's stylish undertones and there is a lot of variety regarding all the different environments you visit, like a construction site, a prison, a brothel, a warehouse, and even the pimpest airplane you have ever seen. It has a jacuzzi inside, how on earth does that work? No time to really care about that though, since you'll be busy blasting dudes, and thankfully both the sound effects and the music help in making the action more intense. The soundtrack is an interesting mix of orchestral, trance, and electronic beats. Surprisingly, it fits the game's tone rather well, even though it's more upbeat and rhythmic than your typical serious third-person movie game stuff, which is good since it gives the whole experience a more unique character. Equally unique is the voice acting as well, but not for the right reasons. It's laughably bad. Most of the actors sound bored and monotone, and when they're not, it's because they're trying some ridiculous accent that makes them sound like Christopher Walken with Down syndrome.
Hello, Officer Slade. What brings you out on a night like tonight? You want to join us? $100 ante? Or is that too rich for your cop salary?
Oh well, I guess you could say it adds to the game's charm. Overall, the game manages to overcome its frankly terrible appearance and deliver a very memorable experience with a mysterious and dark vibe, mixed with a little bit of goofiness and your classic action movie cliches. If only they had shown more love to the graphics, then it would have been a truly awesome classic. Since Dead to Rights is heavily inspired by Max Payne, you can probably guess what the gameplay is gonna be like. Lots of shooting the same unnamed goons over and over. But here things are much easier than your typical third-person shooter, since you lock on automatically to an enemy to shoot him without any further input from your part. You can still aim manually in first person, but only when standing still, and it's pretty finicky, as all targeting with an analog stick is. Of course, it wouldn't be a Max Payne clone without the iconic dive, and here it works fairly well, slowing down time and allowing you to kill multiple enemies in one go, or even unload your entire arsenal of weapons on a boss's face. Unfortunately though, Jack has arthritis, and he cannot turn around to shoot enemies while diving. He's locked into a specific position, which can be a major hindrance when surrounded by enemies. But that's fine, you have a few more tricks up your sleeve, like using an enemy as a human shield, or even sending Shadow to insta-kill them when the dog meter is full. How lucky that they never go after him, even when he's chewing their balls off. The bad guys may be criminals and murderers, but they know not to fuck with Pira. But what if Shadow is sleeping and you're out of ammo? No problem, you can disarm an enemy and steal their weapon, using moves so stylish they put Prince of Persia Warrior Within to shame. You also have a few basic melee attacks to complete your roster of offensive abilities. Nothing too fancy, just a few punch and kick combos and the classic fighting game throw. So the aiming is automatic, the slow motion dive is overpowered, and most of your special attacks are one-hit kills. This game is piss easy, right? You are greatly mistaken. Dead to Rights is hard as balls, bowling balls. And that's because they overcompensated by filling each level up with way too many enemies, while most of them are too tanky for you to kill without wasting most of your ammo. It doesn't help that the game's mechanics aren't as solid as they should be. The melee fighting is repetitive and clunky, with enemy attacks taking priority over yours, even while you're hitting them, and they do as much damage as high caliber weapons. Punches are like bullets after all, just bigger and fleshier. As for the auto-targeting system, it's super random, with the game locking on to whatever enemy it feels like, even if they are behind you a million miles away, poking their nose and smoking some Newports. I'd like to meet the goblin that thought putting RNG in the lock-on feature was a good idea and kick his ass to Kingdom Come. Combined with the fact that enemies deal a shitload of damage to you and most of your guns are useless at long range, you're gonna die again and again. And since every level drags on for way too long, doing the same shit over and over, the experience becomes a slog after a while. Yeah, the game's pacing is all over the place. The adventure starts with a patronizing tutorial, giving you a little taste of the shooting action. Alright, now I'm ready to kill some dudes. Nope, you gotta do a stripping minigame first. Huh, so that's what a half-naked woman looks like. You learn something new every day. Okay, now that I'm done with the unnecessarily long stripping minigame and had a nice little shooting segment, I'm finally ready to really get into it. Oh, you silly little goober, you forgot the hour-long prison level with exhausting button-mashing minigames and mind-numbingly repetitive melee combat. Yeah, Dead to Rights' first few hours are brutal, but if you persist, you'll enjoy an actually fairly decent third-person shooter. Yeah, okay, it's infuriatingly difficult, its mechanics aren't very polished, and it drags on, but it still manages to be fun and intuitive, with snappy and engaging action, and just enough variety to keep things interesting. All in all, it's a pretty fun time, if you can handle its flaws. Ever since Max Payne came out, there have been many attempts to capitalize on what made it special. Dead to Rights was one of those attempts, and a successful one at that, spawning many sequels and spin-offs. Sure, it's rough around the edges both in graphics and gameplay, but it still manages to be a unique experience, with an unintentionally hilarious plot and intense gameplay that will leave you at the edge of your seat. If you're into taking out bad guys while doing fancy flips in slow motion, you'll enjoy this one. Just don't play the PC port, it sucks ass. Anyway, that's all I had to say about Dead to Rights. Thank you very much for watching, I hope you enjoyed it. Leave a like if you did, comment your thoughts below, and subscribe for more stuff. You know how it goes. You can also join my Discord and follow me on Twitter. Have a great day, and until next time, take care and have fun.